Most people never make it far enough to see real change because they quit too early. I used to do the same. I'd start something, lose momentum, and wonder why nothing ever stuck. But everything shifted when I chose one habit and stayed with it for 21 days. By day 6, something changed, not on the outside, but inside me. And what happened after that, my friend? You'll want to experience for yourself. Most people think they have a motivation problem. They don't. What they actually have is a momentum problem. It begins the same way every time. You get inspired, you feel ready, you take action for a day or two, maybe even a full week, but then it fades. The excitement wears off. The results don't show up as fast as you expected. You get bored or tired or distracted. So you skip a day, then 2, and just like that, you're back at square one. The worst part, the guilt, that heavy feeling in your chest that says, you did it again, you couldn't stay consistent. This is the loop that traps millions every year. First, you get motivated, so you take action, but then boredom creeps in, you quit. And what's left? Guilt. And the more times you repeat it, the more it becomes who you believe you are. But here's what no one tells you. The loop isn't your fault, it's how your brain is designed. You see, motivation is driven by dopamine, your brain's reward chemical. It spikes when things are exciting or new, but when repetition kicks in, dopamine drops. Your brain says, this isn't fun anymore, and pushes you to chase something else that is. That's why people bounce between habits, ideas, and goals, chasing the high instead of building the foundation. But what if you didn't rely on motivation at all? What if there was a way to build habits that actually stick, even when you don't feel like it? That's what the 21-day rule is for. It rewires your loop from random bursts of action to reliable, unstoppable consistency. And in just a moment, I'll show you how it works and why it changed everything for me. It's not intensity, it's frequency that builds your future. We've been sold this lie that big change requires big effort. But the truth is, it's not the people who go the hardest that win. It's the people who stay consistent, even if it's small, especially when it's small. Let me tell you about my friend Michael. He wanted to get fit, but every time he started a workout plan, he'd go all in. Hour-long sessions, strict diets, everything, and every time he'd quit by week 2. So one day, he tried something different. He made a deal with himself, just 1 push-up a day. That's it. Not a full workout, not even 10 minutes, just 1. It sounded ridiculous, but he did it anyway. 1 push-up turned into 2, then 5, then a quick stretch, then a jog. And without even realizing it, Michael became someone who worked out daily. Not because he forced it, but because he normalized it. That's the power of micro-consistency. See, your brain's habits live in a part called the basal ganglia, a region wired for repetition. It doesn't care if the task is big or small. It only cares if it's repeated. Every time you do a habit, even for a minute, you're strengthening the neural pathway that says, this is who I am now. You're not chasing motivation anymore. You're building identity. And here's the magic part. You won't feel the shift when you see results. You'll feel it the moment you show up on a day you really didn't want to and do it anyway. That's when you become the kind of person who doesn't miss. Not because it's easy, but because you've stopped relying on motivation and started relying on who you've become. This is where everything started to change for me, and you'll see why in a moment. So here are 3 rules that make any habit stick for you. Start stupidly small. You want to change your life? Don't start big. Start ridiculously small. I'm talking floss, 1 tooth, small. Read 1 page, small, 1 push-up, small. Because if it feels easy, your brain doesn't resist it. You slip past the mental friction that normally stops you. The key is making it so small you can't fail. So, what's your ridiculously small habit? Share it in the comments below. I'm reading, replying, and I want to see what you're starting with. Let me tell you something that changed everything for me. I used to say I wanted to be someone who journals daily, but every time I sat down it felt like a chore. Until one day when I told myself to write just 1 sentence. That's it, write 1 single line in a notebook. Most days I'd write more, but the win wasn't the words, it was the consistency. That sentence became a streak, that streak became momentum. That momentum turned into a habit because your brain doesn't care about the size of the win. It only cares that you showed up. Small wins compound, but here's the secret. They only work if you can see them stacking. And that brings us to the next rule. Track it visibly. Ever noticed how crossing something off a list just feels good? That's dopamine, and it's your best ally when it comes to habits. See, your brain is wired to chase progress, not perfection. When you track your habit, whether it's a red X on a wall calendar or a simple habit app, you're giving your brain visible proof that you're winning. And what gets measured gets repeated. When I started tracking workouts, something strange happened. I didn't just want to move, I wanted to protect the streak. That one red X on my wall became 3, then 10, then 21. And suddenly I wasn't asking, do I feel like working out today? I was saying, no way, I'm breaking this chain. Because progress isn't always visible in the mirror or on the scale, but when you track it, your brain says, you're doing something right, let's keep going. But that only works if you commit to this third part. And let me tell you, this is the one that separates the dabblers from the transformers. It is identity over outcome. Anyone can chase results, but if you want habits to stick for life, you don't just do them, you become them. That's the shift from I want to read to I'm a reader, from I should write to I'm a writer, from I'm trying to eat healthy to I don't miss meals, I fuel my body. When your actions align with your identity, the decision is already made. Let me tell you why this matters. A few months ago, I had a brutal week. Zero motivation, long hours, no energy, but I still wrote. Why? Because I wasn't writing for results. I was writing because that's who I am now. I wasn't negotiating with the old me anymore. Your identity is your internal compass. Once it shifts, your standards shift with it. Suddenly missing a day doesn't feel neutral, it feels off. And when that happens, you don't need motivation anymore. You just need to return to who you are. So let me ask you this. What's one identity you're ready to adopt? One version of you that's just waiting for proof? Because what I'll show you next, that's how you lock it in for good. And once it clicks, everything else starts to run on autopilot. I honestly didn't think 21 days of sticking to one thing would change much, but I was curious to find out. So I picked one habit. Wake up at 6 a.m. and move my body, even if it was just stretching or walking. No exceptions, no resets, just 21 days. The first 3 days were easy. I felt motivated, optimistic, even proud. But by day 6, that motivation disappeared. It turned into friction. I started bargaining with myself. You deserve rest. It's just one day. You can start again tomorrow. Day 7 was a war, not with my alarm clock, but with myself. But that's when something clicked. I stopped negotiating. I stopped making it optional. I started waking up because I said I would. And something about that, keeping a promise to myself, began to rewire the way I saw everything. By day 10, the habit wasn't just part of my morning, it was part of me. I wasn't just someone trying to be disciplined. I had become someone who doesn't miss. But what really surprised me came on day 21. And it wasn't what I expected. It wasn't about the habit anymore. It was about the confidence. I didn't just wake up early, I walked taller, I worked better. I didn't second guess myself as much. Because when you show up for yourself long enough, you start to believe in the person you're becoming. And that's when real transformation begins. Let me show you how to lock that change in for good. By day 21, the change won't just be physical, it'll be personal. You'll stop asking, can I do this? And start saying, this is who I am. There's a quiet confidence that builds when you show up for yourself, especially when no one else is watching. You no longer negotiate with yourself. You execute. The habit you chose becomes the anchor, but the ripple effect, that's what makes it powerful. You'll start eating better because your standard is higher now. You'll say no more often to distractions, to time wasters, to your own excuses. Your sleep feels deeper, your mind sharper. Even your posture changes, like your body finally caught up to your mindset. And it all started with one thing done daily. One promise you didn't break. You didn't just build a habit, you built belief. Belief that you can commit. Belief that you can trust yourself again. Belief that you're no longer the kind of person who starts and stops. So here's your challenge. Conclusion. Pick one thing, one habit. Do it for 21 days. No excuses. No 0 days. Drop your one thing in the comments. I'll reply to as many as I can. And more importantly, come back on day 1, then day 10, then day 21, because I promise this video won't sound the same. You're closer than you think. One decision, one habit, and everything can start to shift for the better. The next video will help you keep moving forward.